Hey, and welcome back to the Emlyn in the Mix podcast, season 3, episode 9 for y'all. I hope you're doing amazing out there, despite what is happening in the world right now. Now, what is this podcast about? Of course, this podcast is all about me, and you're just going to watch me and I'm going to talk about myself. No, just kidding. This podcast is about music technology, music gear, music hardware, and software. And if you love those topics, then you're going to love this podcast. We do it on a weekly basis. You can check it out on all of your favorite podcast streaming applications like Apple Podcasts. I was going to say Apple Music, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Podtail, to just name a few. And then we simulcast on YouTube, which is now formerly known as a vodcast. No, I'm just making that up. It is actually simulcast on YouTube. I don't know if it's called vodcast, but I like that word. That sounds pretty cool. Anyway, on today's podcast, we have some amazing topics to talk about, some incredible outreaching topics to talk about, and some really cool new hardware, which I'm really excited to show you guys. So without further ado, let's get stuck into it. But I do want to just say thank you to all of my regular listeners for coming back on a week-to-week basis. I love doing this podcast for you guys. I can't believe I literally roll out of bed and then come and record this podcast for you guys. There is a little bit of preparation that goes in this podcast. But yeah, I do these early in the morning at the moment and I'm freaking tired. But I love you guys so much. That's why we do the podcast. Anyway, let's get stuck into the first topic here. This is huge. So stop the war. So this is Soundtoys. And if you've been under a rock or you don't know what's happening in world politics, now we don't get political on this show ever. Like this show is definitely not about politics. It's about music and creation. But this was such a huge story. I had to include it in the podcast today. So this is Soundtoys and they're standing with Ukraine. Check this out. They're donating 100%. I've never seen this before. 100% of their sales to humanitarian relief operations through March 8. Now, if you've been thinking about getting some Soundtoys plugins, thinking is... You don't think when it's about Soundtoys plugins. Soundtoys plugins, they're in the top 5, some of the best effects plugins on the planet. So if you've been wanting to get them and you want to support these humanitarian efforts, then this is just like the best time to do it, because you're going to be, what's the saying? Killing 2 birds with 1 stone, more or less. And this is just, wow. I've literally never seen this before. This is very, very interesting indeed. So if this is something which you want to, contribute or help, then this is how you're going to do it. And you're going to get some plugins. Yeah, it's all there. So 100% of the sales through to March 8th will be donated to help provide immediate aid to the people of Ukraine. And you can also select which organization you want to donate to. For example, if you do doctors, this will go towards the Doctors Without Borders. If you want to do meals, this goes to World Central Kitchen. These are the actual codes to use. And there's the code safety, which goes to the Red Cross Society of Ukraine. So, and if you own the full Soundtoys bundle, you can still participate in purchasing. For example, you can buy a gift card and you can donate any amount you want, and then you could just gift card that to somebody. I just thought this was such a really cool way of showing support. And Soundtoys is obviously very, very passionate about what is happening. It is affecting the whole world, what is happening over there. It is quite a terrible thing. And this sort of news will date the podcast, of course, but and I know that there'll be listeners of this podcast in the future and they're going to miss this amazing deal. But if you are listening to it and it is before March 8, 2022, then you should just jump in and check this out. I thought this was really incredible and support Soundtoys' efforts on just this amazing effort towards humanity. I've never seen this in the music technology world, so very cool, and kudos to Soundtoys making some of the best plugins. Just jumping over to their website too, just so you get an idea of the products they have, their lineup of products. If you don't have the Soundtoys 5 bundle, it is really cool, actually. You can check out on my YouTube channel, I have covered Soundtoys bundle before, so please head over to Emlyn in the Mix on YouTube right now if you're not there already. And if you are there already, after you watch this podcast, check out, I did a review. You can search for Emlyn in the Mix, Soundtoys. I did a review checking out their plugins. Fantastic indeed. But let's have a quick look here. So you got the effects rack, which you can just chuck all the different Soundtoys plugins into one, up to 14 in a go. You've got your Decipitator there. Microshift's really good. I use that a lot on vocals, actually, when you're sort of layering vocals and so forth. You got the little plate here, little altar boy, Echo Boy. Echo Boy is a staple. Absolutely amazing delay. Decades of Echo devices in a single plugin. You've got the radiator, warm-up, vintage vibe, drive, tremolator, analog guitar, tremolo effect and beyond with beat synced rhythmic chopping. Primal tap, modulated retro dual delay with freeze for lo-fi pitch, warp loops and delays. This is like a really like creative effects plugin. Filter Freak, it's another staple. This is just an amazing sounding filter. Fat analog sweeps, pounding filter rhythms, big hardware sound with dual version for double the analog altitude. You got the Devil Lock there, crushing, pounding, aggressive compressor for massive drums. You know, it's all here. Pan Man's really good. Rhythmic auto panning with cool classic features, new tricks, and analog color. Crystallizer is one of my favorite. It's a pitch shifting, granular reverse echo, a mind warping sound design trip. Anyway, check them out. I'm not going to go over each individual one. There's heaps there. And you can also just, if you want to support these efforts, 100% of their sales going, you can buy a gift card there as well. All right, let's move along. All right, so our next piece of news here comes to us from Baby Audio, and they've actually released some free iOS apps. Now, sorry to my Android and Samsung, Google users, but this is for the iOS, and I'm sure that they'll bring it across to Android users eventually. So if you have an iPhone or an iPad, you can download for free Baby Audio's Magic Dice and Magic Switch. I've got an iPhone and I'm going to check that. I haven't actually done it yet, but I do have the desktop versions of this. So Magic Dice is basically a free echo, delay, reverb, and modulation plugin. It generates random and dreamy wet effects textures with every new click, and you'll never hear the same effect twice. And a Magic Switch is a free chorus plugin inspired by the classic Juno one-button chorus effect of the 1980s. It is not a direct emulation of the Juno chorus, however, but rather Baby Audio's own idea of an ideal one-button chorus in the DAW era, where clean sounds are easy, but authentic color is hard. And there's an AUV3, which is like the plugin terminology, not the plugin, it's like the plugins used on iOS, basically. So you can, if you have a DAW on your iOS, what's an example? Like I think it's Korg Gadget, for example. They employ, no, Korg Gadget doesn't, sorry, GarageBand. GarageBand employs the AUV3 software, which is your plugin, and you'll be able to just hook these up inside there, and it's free. So check it out. I like having freebies on the podcast. All right, next piece of news here comes to us. This is part of the iZotope Native Instruments merger. This is really, really freaking exciting because these guys, if you haven't heard already, or you've been living under a rock, this is probably one of the biggest pieces of news in the music world, music technology world, that happened pretty much was last year news now, 2021, but still pretty big news because it was announced last year, but now it's actually happening. So iZotope meets Native Instruments. This merger, there are some deals which are happening right now, but they're only available through till March 22. So you want to get onto these. Again, if you're listening to this podcast in the future, I'm very sorry if you've missed this deal. However, if you're listening right now and you've been thinking about either getting this iZotope bundle or the Native Instruments complete bundle, now is the time to do it because they got some incredible deals. For example, Music Production Suite 4.1 combined with Complete 13. These are like the latest bundles in one. This is like from start to finish. There's actually an example on the Native Instruments website, a video with these artists here. If I jump over, anyway, there they are. You just click on this. If you jump over there, we're not going to play this on the podcast now, but you can watch this artist here, Datsun, and he makes a track using the complete 13 bundle, and then they send it over to one of the gurus at iZotope, who mixes it all together with the music production suite 4.1 using those tools, and they make a complete sounding track. I watched that video briefly, and the track at the end of that video just sounds absolutely mint because they're using all these tools and complete 13. Go head over and check that out after this podcast, of course, because you want to stick around. We've got some amazing news still coming. Don't leave the podcast just yet. Anyway, so what do you get in this? What do you get in this bundle? Everything you need to create, produce, mix, and master music, of course. Experience the most complete end-to-end music production system in industry. So you get over 30 intelligent iZotope plugins, 65 instruments and effects, and 20, wow, I can't even believe these numbers. There's 20 expansion packs and 35,000 plus sounds. This is an incredible deal. Now, if you put all these plugins, if you were to purchase them individually, it'll cost you over $10,000, and they've got this bundle for $699. It's actually a really special deal, because I remember even when you were just purchasing like complete 13 bundle, it was like over $1,000. So the fact you're going to get the music production 4.1, which is an incredible bundle in itself, and complete 13 for $699 US. That is incredible. They also have a bigger bundle here, which has 115 plus instruments and effects from Native Instruments. And you got 39 expansion packs and over 30 intelligent iZotope plugins. That one there is basically it's the complete 13 ultimate mix with the music production suite 4.1. That's $1,299, but that is basically you're getting the kit and caboodle. Like, you're getting everything. And yeah, this deal is incredible, because what is that? It's coming up to like nearly $20,000 if you were to purchase each individual plugin. Look, if these are something you've been wanting to get, this is the time to do it. You're going to save up to about 60%, and it's very exciting indeed, because this is only the beginning between the iZotope and Native Instruments merger. I remember when we announced this merger, and we were a bit worried that maybe they were going to... I was worried that the merger, they were going to neglect, one of the brands was going to get neglected, but it really looks like you've got your team at iZotope and you've got your team at Native Instruments. They're working hard at what they do best, and now they've just come together as a powerful force. And I think that iZotope and Native Instruments are going to be a force to be reckoned with in 2022, 2023. Let's see what they do. There is some exciting stuff on the horizon, I'm told. Here I have some background information. Don't have the actual details yet, but I'm told there's something exciting on the horizon coming from this duo, this conglomerate of powerful companies which have come together, and I can't wait to share that with you guys, whatever that is, of course. But if you are interested in getting these bundles, check it out right now. It's up until March 22, and enjoy. Let's move along to the next piece of news here. This comes to us from Waves. Now we're getting into our hardware topics. The next three topics are hardware, and they're pretty damn exciting. Now, Waves, we did talk about the SoundGrid Waves last year on the podcast. And what is SoundGrid, of course? Well, if you don't know, check out that podcast. I'm not going to explain it all here. I'll explain it briefly. So basically, it allows you... It's actually the future of studio technology, because it is mind-blowing what it can do. It can transmit sound over Ethernet with near zero latency. So, for example, if you have an instrument that's, I don't know, it's down in the other part of your house, or in another... It could be like on the other side of the property in a studio, and you're in a studio here, and you want to play that into your computer, Literally, there's zero latency. It's all super quick. So instead of running, like, for example, RCAs or XLR leads, which are not great over long, and it's not just distance that this benefits you. It just allows you to plug stuff in, and you're getting the highest quality, zero latency recording. This is literally the future. And keep this in mind, one cable. Okay, so you could have, let's say you got 10 synthesizers in another room. Sorry, I don't know why I'm explaining this so much. You got to go listen to my other podcast where I go into a bit more depth. But okay, I'll try and explain it one more time. You got 10 synthesizers in another room ages away. You plug all your 10 synthesizers into the little sound grid, run one Ethernet cable back to your studio. Boom, you're straight into your door. Anyway, I hope that gives you an idea. But that's basically the concept of SoundGrid. It's a really incredible technology. Now I'm just going to zoom in here. My eyes are tiny. My eyes are not tiny, but they weren't. The words were tiny. All right, Proton Duo combines a Waves Proton SoundGrid server, which is what I was just talking about, and the Axis Proton audio optimized computer. So it has a little computer built inside, processing power and so forth, and a built-in network switch, all in one compact device. So now this combines those two things. So for the first time ever, you can add more plugin processing power via a SoundGrid server. So you can have all your plugins actually inside this little guy and run Waves applications on a customized computer designed for outstanding audio performance, all using one slim, elegant unit instead of two separate devices. In addition to boosting your DSP power, Proton Duo is optimized through meticulous selection of components to run the Waves Emotion LV1 live mixer. So I don't know if you've heard of that before. That's going into the world of mixing live, the Super Rack Live plugin host, and the SoundGrid studio application on systems of up to 32 channels. So you could essentially, if you're in a band and you want to take your Waves plugins, you want to process the band live with Waves plugins, you could use this little server as well. So with server, computer, and switch all rolled into one, Proton Duo is the most compact and portable Waves processing unit yet. Pre-configured, wired, and ready to go straight out of the box, Proton Duo is designed for quick setup. Just plug it into your I/O anytime, anywhere, and you're ready to mix. So that's pretty cool. So it is a little computer. I guess you'd need a screen though, because I mean, if you have a look here, but isn't that freaking cool? Like, I think this is probably one of the most underrated pieces of hardware in the music technology world. Like, people do not talk about this thing, but what it can do and what Waves are doing with their hardware. Like, I think people dismiss Waves hardware because they're like, oh, they just got a plethora of software plugins and they're just like boring or whatever. But actually, yeah, there you go. It's got HDMI out here. So that's probably for your monitor, I guess. This is actually pretty freaking cool. I'm only just realizing this now because I didn't realize that it's a computer already and configured, ready to go, run your Waves and so forth. Very, very cool indeed. But look, yeah, that's the thing I feel, is that Waves hardware somehow is getting overlooked, but this is probably the future of studio technology. Unless someone like Universal Audio takes over and tries to do the same thing, which they kind of have, but not really, and then use their marketing prowess, which they're really good at marketing and making. They're kind of like the Apple of music world, aren't they? Anyway, so there you go. That's what you get. Yeah, you got 4 gig of RAM on board, 8 gig RAM access Proton computer, 256 gigabyte HDD storage, Windows 10 is included, 3x HDMI. I don't know why it's got 3. Is it because they want to have 3 monitors, I guess? You got a bunch of USB. This is actually pretty freaking sweet. I didn't actually realize it was the full computer as well inside. So that I just found that out as we did the podcast, because I was checking this out earlier and I thought it was literally just those 2 things. But yeah, anyway, there you go. There you go, guys. Waves Proton Duo. That is actually pretty cool. If you like, don't dismiss Waves. Don't just go shaking your head at Waves. Oh, they got $20 plugins. Oh, they got sales on all the time. Waves are still an industry standard. Their software is still an industry standard. It is the bread and butter, and it is in the top 5. In fact, emulation-wise, maybe it's dropped down a little bit, like, because you got companies like Universal Audio who are They're setting the bar so high on emulation. You've even got like boutique companies like Cherry Audio now doing some of the most amazing, in my humble opinion, some of the most amazing emulation on the planet right now. In fact, Cherry Audio has just jumped up to like the top 3 for me in terms of emulation. But Waves have been there all along. Their plugins are not expensive. You can get in there quite easily, and they just have some of the best sounding compressors, EQs, and so forth. And this hardware is no exception. All right, let's move along to our next piece of news. Getting deep on Waves there. This is freaking cool. This is for you synthesizer nerds, and like me, I'm a bit of a synth nerd. This is damn near very exciting. We spoke about Iridium before. I don't think we've covered it fully on the podcast, and we haven't gone a deep dive in it or anything. But what is Iridium? Well, Iridium is Waldorf's flagship desktop synthesizer. It was a little desktop unit, and now they've just essentially released it as a keyboard. And this is pretty exciting because, let me just read it here for you. So, after introducing Iridium as a high-class synthesizer in a compact desktop form factor, we take the concept further forward with the Iridium keyboard. Now, this is where it's exciting. It's boosting an all-new 49-key FATAR TP8SK semi-weighted polyphonic aftertouch pressure-providing keyboard as the first such implementation of that keyboard in the world, with an expanded front panel proffering one knob per function control as a workflow. Raising result of this high-class synthesizer's playable physical makeover, also allowing for 6 freely programmable macro buttons with which users can define functions from a wide range of features for additional performance control. So basically just now, because before you just had the desktop unit, now it's got this amazing implementation of this FATAR keybed, which FATAR keybeds are all the rage in the 2020s it seems. But you got polyphonic aftertouch. You'll be able to do tremendous tonal changes, flow freely. When playing the Iridium keyboard, live sense polyphonic aftertouch is transmitted individually for each note. So check this out. Performers can, if they want to, it would sound terrible, but they can conceivably play and hold down any number of keys simultaneously, because this is a powerful synthesizer, subsequently moving each finger individually. In other words, individually keys are affected by the pressure applied by each finger, thereby creating, for instance, individual data streams for modulation purposes. Whereas with monophonic channel aftertouch, all notes played will respond in the same way, with a powerful mod matrix offering 40 independent modulation assignments each. This is a very powerful synthesizer, each with individual settings for source, amount, and destination. Iridium keyboard comes with powerful modulation options, just like the Iridium desktop synthesizer namesake. Notably, Iridium keyboard is also capable of processing MPE. This is the holy grail of music expression, MIDI polyphonic expression data, duly making multiple parameters of different notes separately controllable to effectively enable it to behave more like an acoustic instrument in terms of spontaneous polyphonic sound control. Okay, if all of that just goes over your head and that's just total nerd synthesizer speak, that's because it is. There's a little video here. I just want to play some of the sounds back just so you can get an idea. Let's just play a little bit here. I'm not going to play the whole thing, of course. There's a 12-minute video, but we'll just jump in here at 2 minutes. Another preset here for you. You could hear the MP going there, who's sort of pushing the note in and out. Make this video bigger. Here we go. Nice. Very powerful synthesizer indeed. I think with this, I think what makes this so exciting is actually that keyboard has actually changed this instrument. One more preset. Yeah, it's a complete new play experience because you got velocity, sensitivity, and dynamic keyboard. Like, that's just, it's a game changer. Man, Waldorf killing it. Alright, we'll stop it down there. But you get the idea. That is a very, very nice sounding synthesizer. You can also watch, there's a Matt Johnson from Jamiroquai fame, and he takes you through on how to use the Iridium, or basically just shows you around it, giving you a good demo of it. Oh man, that's on my wish list now, isn't it? I hate that. I hate looking at these because I liked the Iridium. It was a nice little desktop, and it kind of, had its pros and cons. I didn't actually ever get one. It is the holy grail. It's like the big daddy holy grail of synthesis, really. But now with that keyboard and the expressive control that you're going to have over that synthesizer, that just makes that synthesizer, woo, it's got to be, one of the best. All right, let's look at our last piece of news for the day. And so we covered a spectrum. You got your synth nerds. We got our, humanitarian efforts here. We've got our merger deals. And now we're looking at, this is going to my guitar shredders. So this is for you guys who like to play live. Doesn't necessarily have to be guitar, but I mean, it really is 95% aimed at guitarists because it's a guitar effects processor. The GX100, this is brand new from Bose, and this looks really, really freaking nice. So color your music with inspiring tone. Fusing advanced Bose tone technologies into a sleek, ultra-modern hardware design, the inspiring GX100 delivers top-level performance everywhere you play. Explore 23 ARD amplifiers and over 150 effects derived from the flagship GT1000, and craft sounds in seconds with the intuitive color touch display. Up to 15 simultaneous effects blocks provide unlimited tone possibilities, coupled with deep real-time command via onboard foot switches, an expressive pedal, and external control support. Yeah. So there's a little movie here. Let's play this little movie. I hope this is the right movie, not the long movie. Don't be a long movie. No, it's not. Here we go. Let's play this back. So you can hear different tones here. Shredding. Touch screen. It's pretty nice. Get a little carry case for it. And you can connect it to your computer, of course. Oh yeah, it's the Bose GX100, brand new from Bose. Now, Bose, of course, hailing from Roland fame. I mean, it's the same company. Now, if you like the sound of that, those tones, how good do they sound? So here's some of the features. Powerful, easy to use amp effects processor for guitar and bass, 24-bit ADDA, 32-bit floating point processor, and 48 kilohertz sample rate, authentic tube amplifier tone and touch response with AID technology, 23 amplifier types and over 150 boss effects. That's massive. ultra flexible amp effects, routing with 15 assignable blocks, wide selection of onboard speaker types and support for loading wave speaker IRs, streamlined modern design and intuitive color touch display and rugged metal chassis, unlimited effects control with freely assignable onboard foot switches and expression pedals with toe switch. And you can connect up to 2 foot switches or an expression pedal for expanded control. This is essentially, this has got everything. This is like the big daddy of guitar pedals right now. I mean, the fact that it has a touchscreen, I've never seen anything like that on a guitar pedal. Exceptional effects. So you got over 150 effects from the vast bus library, and you're able to realize nearly any sound you can imagine with the GX100. Numerous overdrives and distortions are available, plus both classic like slow gear, octave, and more. And there's also a diverse range of mod effects, delays, and reverbs, along with many effects specifically tuned for bass. And with the send return jacks, you can integrate favorite stomps of your amp effect loops in the GX100 ecosystem. So it's touch and go, it's customizable, and you can plug it into your computer as well. The GX100 from Bose, guys, I told you we cover every spectrum. This looks like a really nice and sounds like an incredible sounding guitar pedal effects processor. If you like playing live, you're looking for a guitar pedal, you just started playing guitar, or you're a novice player, or you're an amateur, or you're a seasoned professional, this is for you to check out from Bose. Definitely cool indeed. Now, no kickback, no affiliation today from any of these products. And usually not really ever. I mean, sometimes we do have a little bit of affiliation. There might be some affiliation next week, though. I may have some very cool things up my sleeve. In fact, March is looking really exciting with new announcements and releases on the horizon. Native Instruments and iZotope being one of them. And of course, Rolly. We have some very exciting news rolling out, excuse the pun, from Rolly. Anyway, if you've enjoyed today's podcast, please leave a thumbs up if you're watching the YouTube video. If you enjoyed it on the podcast, if you're listening on the app, then please scroll down in the app and leave me a review. Really love to hear. I read all of your feedback. 3 stars, 4 stars, 5 stars, whatever you felt. 5-star being amazing, 1-star being not so good, and you just leave what you feel is appropriate. Leave a comment in the comment section below if you liked any of the products that we looked at today. Are you going to be purchasing some Soundtoys to support 100% of your funds supporting the efforts over in Ukraine right now? Are you going to be getting the iZotope Native Instruments merger bundle, which is freaking really good? What did you think about the hardware we covered today? You know the drill, guys. Love to get your feedback on that. Also, you can reach out to me, Emlyn in the mix at gmail.com. Perhaps you're a software developer or hardware developer and you want to get your product looked at on the podcast, then I'm more than happy to check that out for you. Emlyn in the mix at gmail.com. Anyway, thank you so much, guys, for joining me. Season 3, episode 9 on the podcast here today. Till next week. We'll be back next week. We just keep doing this thing for you guys as much as possible. Despite what's happening in the world, stay creative, stay happy. Don't watch the news. Try not to watch the news too much because it is pretty crazy world out there right now. So if you can avoid it, please do, because you'll be doing yourself a favor. Just get in your studio, start noodling with your synthesizers, your guitars, or whatever it is you have, your drums, and just create, guys. That's what's going to help you in this time right now. All right. Thank you so much. Peace out. Boom.